At the start of 2024, Scythe revealed the 6th Mugen generation of its CPU coolers, including the Mugen 6 and the Mugen 6 Black Edition. In today's review, I will evaluate the latter, which at $55 costs $8 more than the Mugen 6. The only differences between the plain and the black editions are the paint job and the second fan, which is offered in the most expensive model. Given the minimal price difference, I would go for the top model without a second thought. In a market where a good branded air cooler costs above $80, in some cases even above $100, I'm really curious what the $55 Mugen 6 Black Edition will achieve in terms of performance. We are used to high prices when we ask for top performance, while this affordable product states that it can handle the most power-hungry processors available in today's market without sweating. If this is true, the super expensive coolers from other brands will have a problem justifying their high prices and convincing consumers to prefer them. The box offers decent protection for the product. On its face is a photo of the cooler with both of its fans mounted. Around the back you will find all the important technical specifications. Scythe also included bits of information on the other sides of the box. The bundle includes AMD and Intel mounting hardware, thermal grease, fan clips, screwdriver, 2 Ronde tornado fans, fan splitter cable and a manual. The cooler follows the classic single tower design, so you should not expect the same performance as the notably larger dual tower designs. According to Scythe, there is a 45% increase in fin count in the heatsink compared to the previous model. The design is asymmetrical to avoid blocking the RAM slots by slightly shifting the heatsink to the back and away from the GPU. 6 heat pipes run through the base. Larger coolers use even more, but the number of heat pipes alone doesn't mean anything if the design doesn't fully exploit them. The cooler uses a pair of 120mm fans with FTB bearings, which are among the best in terms of noise output and reliability. The fans are meant to be installed in a typical push-pull configuration and feature a 9-blade vortex-type design. The maximum speed exceeds 2000 RPM, and in the cybernetics fan testing scheme, also called the PHY Fan Performance Standard or PFPS in short, the Ronde Tornado gets a silver badge in airflow and gold in static pressure. Since the cooler's fins are quite dense, what you need is increased static pressure and not airflow so much. The installation is easy if you bother to read the instructions first. You don't have to remove the center fan to reach the internal mounting screw. Only the side one needs to be removed, since there is a hole at the cooler's center with a clear view of the internal screw. You use the provided backplate for the Intel sockets, while for AMD sockets you only have to remove the standard mounting clips and use the provided ones by Scythe. Thanks to the compact enough dimensions, RAM compatibility is excellent. If the mainboard's VRMs are tall, you can adjust the push fans position through the clips. Some might not like the clips for mounting the fans, but they are the most affordable option and offer good usability. Once you get familiar with them, they are easy to use. Test methodology. I first install the cooler into a hemianechoic chamber, and with the help of a highly sophisticated sound analyzer, I take all necessary noise measurements required for the testing. Afterwards, I install the system inside a giant climate chamber where the ambient temperature remains steady at 25 degrees Celsius. This way, I don't have to take the delta difference into account, since I can evaluate all coolers under the same ambient temperature. To evaluate the coolers, I use a power-hungry Intel i9-13900K. This beast reaches 350 watt of sustained load, which I measure accurately using a Powernetics version 2 system. I also use an AMD Ryzen 9 7900X, which is at around 200 watt. The load application is Prime 95 small FFTs, which applies a tremendous load to the processor. I run each test for 20 minutes, allowing for a 10 minutes cool period between each test. The whole procedure is fully automated thanks to a particular application that I made for this purpose. The critical point in my methodology for coolers is that I consider the CPU's average frequency during testing because it doesn't remain steady throughout the tests. It constantly changes according to the load and the operating temperatures. I have the Pownetic system to continually measure the CPU's power consumption, which is way more accurate and faster than using a software solution like Hardware Info. Noise output at full speed is normal for an air cooler and on the high side at 70%. Noise levels according to fan speed, the higher the RPM in this chart, the better. Frequency plots. I took measurements with the fans running from 10% up to full speed with 10% intervals. The peak frequencies were from 400 to 630 Hz. I have recorded all signals that I measured during frequency analysis, but keep in mind that I've enabled automatic gain control to make it easier for you to reproduce them. The provided recordings are only offered for oral identification purposes. Normalized noise tests. For these tests, I set the cooler's fans to speeds with noise output at several predefined levels and with the cooler's fans running at full speed. In tele results, the temperatures are high compared to the strong competition. CPU frequencies are not that high, but the difference from the high-end air coolers is not dramatic. The Mugen 6 can handle more than 300 watt of power as seen in these graphs. AMD results. The CPU temperatures are high as in the Intel test system. Still, the differences between strong all-in-ones are not that great, so we have to look at CPU frequency and power consumption to get the complete picture. The operating temperatures alone don't say much, which is something you all need to understand. CPU frequencies are low compared to powerful all-in-ones in my database. Once I find the time, I will install some popular air coolers on the AMD system to enrich the data. CPU power consumption is decent, taking the lead from the single fan and compact dual tower Noctua cooler. Overall performance. To calculate each cooler's overall performance, I take into account three factors: the CPU's temperature, wattage and frequency. At low fan speeds, the overall performance surpasses that of several high-end air coolers, and the results are even better at 25 decibels. At 30 decibels, the cooler equals the Cooler Master Air, losing only to the Noctua NH-D15. At 35 decibels, a noise level that the D15 doesn't reach, the Corsair A115 is better. At full speed, a not fair comparison, the Mugen 6 achieves third place in air coolers, but you should keep in mind that this cooler's maximum noise output is close to 35 decibels, a noise level that other high-end coolers don't reach. Performance per price. Top performance, overall performance, AMD. In all charts, the cooler leaves behind the notably more expensive Noctua G12L, which only has a single fan. Top performance per price score for the Mugen 6 cooler in the AMD platform as well. Before I proceed with the conclusion of this evaluation, since it has to do with a budget-oriented product promising high performance per price, I have to address the elephant in the room, which is Thermalright. In almost every cooling evaluation, I receive comments about this brand and its fantastic products sold at bottom low prices, and you wonder why I haven't reviewed any of them so far. The answer to this is that I tried to contact this brand, but I never got a response. So there are no review samples, either coolers or PSUs. I found two of the PSUs thanks to a friend who bought them and sent them to me, paying all shipping expenses. The bottom line is that from the moment a brand is not cooperative and I cannot find review samples, don't expect a review from me. It is not that I have a problem reviewing their products, the problem is that they don't bother sending me them. And I don't follow the same methodology as other sites or channels which only review stuff from cooperating brands, aka brands that put banners on their site or sponsor their videos. I review anything and everything that I find interesting as long as I can find it. Now that we addressed Thermalright, it's time to proceed with the product in hand, the Mugen 6 Black Edition, which rocks the air cooling world by achieving a top performance per price ratio. So far, I haven't evaluated a cooling solution offering so much at this price level. With $55, you get decent performance, able to handle a power-hungry CPU with over 300 watt TDP, two quality fans, low noise output, easy installation, compact enough dimensions, compatibility with all popular sockets, and nice aesthetics. In the bundle, you will also find a long screwdriver, so you won't need to search for one to mount the cooler. The only less expensive cooler I could find with similar or higher thermal handling power using a dual tower design is the Thermalright Peerless Assassin 120, which looks super promising at $34, a crazy low price given its specifications. If you are searching for fans for your cooler or chassis, read my best cooling fans on hwbuses.com. You will also find this review on the same site. That's all. Bye bye.